Welcome to another episode of TalkYOSpitTV. I'm your host Mario Harris, and this is part two of my World Series breakdown. The last video I just did with the Dodgers. Now I'm doing on the Toronto Blue Jays, who come into this World Series. I think in 30 years, that's what it was. They haven't been to a World Series. So they come into this one. Needless to say, they come into this one as an underdog. But honestly, that shouldn't be taken lightly at all from the Blue Jays. And it's one reason and one reason alone is because they have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He leads the way for the Blue Jays, and he's been probably the best player this postseason. And with that's even with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers going back to the World Series. However, Shohei hasn't showed up too much in this World Series. I mean, this postseason like Vladimir has. Vladdy Jr. in this postseason has a batting average of 442, on base percentage of 510, and a slugging percentage of 930. That basically means he's on base a lot and he hits a lot of home runs. He leads the postseason with 6 home runs and 12 RBI. Outside of Vladdy Jr., the Blue Jays have reigned supreme in hitting with Alejandro Kirk and George Springer, who had hit the go-ahead three-run home run in Game 7 versus the Mariners that sealed the game. But a few other players have stepped it up big time at the plate this postseason. Dalton Varsho, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes, Andres Gimenez, and Addison Barger all have had big hits this postseason and will look to keep that going during the World Series against a strong pitching core in the Dodgers, which it is highly likely since the Blue Jays lead the postseason in home runs, and batting average. Although some games this postseason, the Blue Jays batters have been struggling, like the first two games of the championship series. However, with their great hitting overall, I feel like the Blue Jays will still find their way in this World Series. Now, also with that great hitting, the Blue Jays come equipped with a pitching core that has been up and down this postseason. Starting pitchers Kevin Guzman and rookie Trey Yesavage have been good for the most part in this postseason. However, Shane Bieber and relief pitcher Lewis Varland have not had the postseason, I'm sure, to their liking. Now, I do feel as if closing pitcher Jeff Hoffman will be needed more in this World Series as he can throw a high velocity fastball with a few off speed pitches. But the biggest reason is he's a right handed pitcher, and the Blue Jays have a lot of lefties in their pitching core, such as Mason Fluttery, Brendan Little, Justin Bruhill, and Eric Later, who have been giving up hits, homers, and walks this postseason. Overall, the Blue Jays have had some great hitting across the board in this postseason, mainly from the bottom half of their batting order. To be surprising, but like I said, Vladdy Jr. is over there. He's been great, and Kirk and Springer have also put in work too this postseason. But just like the Dodgers, the Blue Jays have struggled sometime in this postseason also. However, their biggest concern is their bullpen. If their bullpen wants to give themselves a chance to win, they have to be better as a core, mainly from their left-handed pitchers who will be used a lot from for their relief. After like I said, the starting pitcher and Yes Savage and Guzman, they've been playing good so far in this postseason, but it's the relief pitchers as a whole who've been struggling big time in this postseason. Like I said, I don't think the Blue Jays will win in this World Series. Unfortunately, I think they will lose in 6 games. So I do give them 2 games to win. Um, I kind of give them 2 games in Toronto more than I do in Los Angeles. However, I feel like Vladdy is a big hitter. He's shown that he's been a big time hitter in this postseason. So he don't shine away from the moment. He hit big hits in New York. I feel like he can do it in LA too. I don't know if it's gonna be consistently, but I give the Blue Jays 1 win in Toronto and 1 win in LA. However, like I said, I do think the Dodgers will ultimately win in 6 games. The Blue Jays they haven't announced their starting pitcher just yet, so I'm not sure who will be starting, but I'm pretty sure we will see Max Scherzer at some point in this World Series too. So hey, it's gonna be exciting World Series. Nevertheless, ESPN they do have the Blue Jays at a 40.4% of a chance of winning. That was my breakdown of the World Series from the Blue Jays standpoint of it. Like I said, last video I did the Dodgers. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Like, share, comment the video, please too. Also, but until next time, this is Talk Your Spit TV. I'm Mario Harris. Thank you.